Well, hello everyone. My name is Will Hankey. Thanks for jumping on the call today. Today we're going to be talking about my 17-point SEO checklist. So this is the actual checklist that I use when a client calls me asking about SEO. I've been doing SEO since 2003 and been teaching it since 2004. I've done a lot of different things for a lot of different clients, and over the years I've come up with this kind of real quick checklist of things that you can check on your own site and make sure that they're all good. And we're going to actually look at some of the tools live. I'm going to plug in some different things and show you how to do them. So thanks for jumping on. And by the way, if you're looking at the screen over here, over in the top right, I think you should have some sort of a control panel where you can actually ask questions, answer things in the chat, things like that. So if you have any questions as I'm going through these, please take a minute to pop the question into there. And near the end of the session, I'm actually going to go over any of the questions that you have put in there and make sure that I didn't miss anything up or that something wasn't clear. So we will definitely get through all of those that we can in the allotted time that we have. So first of all, 17 different things is quite a bit. But I think it's very important, and I should also say that it's definitely not limited to 17 things. In other words, there's not just 17 things that you can look at and know that your site is 100% optimized. An ongoing SEO campaign can take months, if not years, to continually keep up to date. And Google is always changing things. I spend an hour every morning going through the news from the day before of what has changed and what algorithm updates have happened and what other things SEO people are talking about that you should probably do. So these are 17 of the most important things that you can look at to see that your website is at least moving in the right direction. I think would probably be a great way to say this. So let's jump in and look at number one. I think that this is probably the most important and the easiest thing to do inside of your website in order to see how your website health is. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So basically you just go into Google and you type site : and then your website. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do that right here. So let's pull it up, and I'm going to type in my name, site : red canoe media.com. And what that does is that says, hey Google, what do you know about this particular domain name? So obviously you'd want to put in your domain name in there. And then one of the big things that you're going to want to see here is that there are some results, and that number of results reflects somewhat accurately the number of pages that you actually have on your website. So about 385 results for me, that's probably about right. I've got a lot of pages, services, and I do a lot of blogging. So that's probably fairly accurate. Now, if I had a e-commerce store and I had 1,000 products and it came back with 385 results, and I know that I have at least 1,000 product pages, then that tells me that there's something wrong with the way that Google is indexing my site. They're not getting some of the pages, they're not seeing something. Something is wrong with the way that the structure is or something. So it definitely needs to be looked into. The other way around would be if it said, that I have 1,000 results and I know that I only have 200 pages. Well, that would tell me that there's possibly some duplicate content that is being found. There's some reason that Google's seeing a lot more pages on my site than really exist. I actually saw this happened to a site a couple weeks ago, a bowling alley, who had apparently been hacked, and there was an entire e-commerce system running off of their site that they had no idea was there. And so, we found it, we cleaned it up and got it all figured out, and now they're back on track. So this can definitely happen, and people, unfortunately, hackers are out there and they like to sneak things in where they can and get free hosting and that kind of stuff. So pretty cool little tool here, the site : make sure you don't use any spaces, and make sure that you just put in your exact domain, the way that it shows anywhere else. So site : and then whatever your current domain is. Okay, so that is the most important tip. The rest of the tips of these 17 different things that I check are basically broken into 5 different sections. So we're going to talk about each one of those sections, and they are the site structure, go a little bit into that, functionality, so how the site functions. We're going to talk a little bit about webmaster tools. We're going to talk about the over-optimization penalty that came out back in 2013. It's definitely still a lot of businesses are doing some of these things, in order to start ranking well, they need to be stopped and they need to be cleaned up. And then last, we're going to look a little bit into how you can spy on your competition, see what they're up to, see if you can find any chinks in their armor that you can go in there and start doing some things to overtake them. So let's jump right into section number 1, site structure. The first thing, the tip number 2 is the meta tags. There's 2 meta tags that most websites have on them nowadays. There's the meta name equals keywords, or the meta keyword tag, and the meta description tag. Now, only one of these are actually important. In fact, the keyword tag I would highly recommend not using. This is something that years and years ago was created, that where you could put keywords in there related to whatever your web page was about. It sounded great, but people started putting in other words that were not related to that page because they saw that those words would pull in traffic. So about 8 or 9 years ago now, the search engine said, we're not going to pay any more attention to the keyword tag, the meta keyword tag. So I actually recommend to my clients not even putting it in there. It's extra code that doesn't need to be loaded. It doesn't do anything for the site. So I actually tell them just leave it out altogether. Now the meta description tag is a little bit different. The meta description tag is actually about 2 sentences where you can describe what that particular page is about. So let me get out of here and I'll show you an example. A meta description tag is actually what shows up right underneath one of the search results in Google. So it's actually an opportunity for you to influence what the search engines see and what they're showing to potential customers for you. So this is a great way to write something that further bolsters whatever your title is, sounds compelling enough that they want to click on it, and yet doesn't answer the question. So one of the things that I always say here is if somebody's searching for, let's say they're searching for, do 2 twins equal a king, when they're talking about mattresses. So if you were to write a blog about that particular question, and then in the meta description you answered that question, yes, 2 twins equal a king, or no, they don't. If you did that here, then that would answer my question. There would be no reason for me to click on your result and find out any more. So a better way to do that is to put something in here, maybe repeat the question or something similar to that, and have that person say, oh yeah, that's what I'm interested in, click and let me learn a little bit more about it. That gives you an opportunity to show some branding. It gives you an opportunity to become a subject matter expert in that person's mind. Even if they're just searching for, do 2 twins equal a king, once they get there, you get that opportunity to brand a little bit for them, things like that. So the meta description tag is definitely an important tag to pay attention to and to use on your site. So I would definitely take the time to make sure that those are filled out. The next thing is the robots.txt file. This is another file that shows up in most websites, and basically just as it shows here, it's kind of like a stoplight, go light kind of thing, and it tells the search engines what areas on their website they can index and which ones they cannot index. So you would want them to index your blog and your products and your services, but maybe you don't want them to index your admin section and your customer data, things of that sort, which hopefully is behind some sort of a login anyway. But it's better to go ahead and give this information to the bots as they come through, and they will obey whatever you tell them in that file to index or not index. It doesn't mean they won't see those extra pieces of content or those extra folders or all that, but they won't show them in their overall index. So the easiest way to find out if you have a robots.txt file is just to type in your website right into the browser, whatever your website is, .com/robots.txt. Now, if it comes up, awesome. If it comes up blank, then you probably don't have one. If you're using WordPress with the Yoast SEO plugin or something like that, then that file probably exists, but it may be fairly blank or not, not a lot of stuff in there. But always good to see if you have that file or not. And if you don't, you need to get one built or get one uploaded on the site. So next thing up is heading tags. Now, every page on your website should have its own set of heading tags. And these are pretty important. So there's two tags that are really important for SEO. One is called the title tag, and that's what controls the upper area of your website. So let me click on one of these. By the way, this is your title tag right here. So it shows up in Google as well. So if I click on that result in Google and I want to look at the different sort of tags, so the title tag is what shows up all the way up here in the top in the little tab on the browser. Okay, it also happens to match this here, which is my H1 tag, my heading, my one heading. And then in some cases, I might have some H2 tags or subheadings, such as this particular one here. Here's another one down here. So they're just subheadings that kind of break the page up a little bit and, explain what that little piece of content is about. So you really should have different heading tags depending on how your site is laid out. But overall, what you really want is every page on your site to have one H1 tag, and you can have multiple H2 tags. Now, you can definitely use H3 tags if you want. In most cases, you probably don't have to. And in some cases, there are H4, H5, and H6, but most people don't use those tags. So here's another way to kind of look at that. Definitely want an H1 tag on every page as a minimum. And typically that matches your title tag, or it's very close to that title tag. Number 5, friendly URLs. It's pretty important to have friendly URLs when you can. An example of a friendly URL would be something like this. I don't think this is the perfect example, but this is a pretty good start. So you have your website, you have whatever directory your product or your service is in, and then you have the actual file name for that product. Now, the problem here is this question mark and then all of this extra information back in the back end, which is basically sorting information. So in this case, this is an e-commerce site of some sort that would be selling skirts. So that way, by adding these different tags, then you can start to sort out the different skirts into ones that you particularly like. And the problem with that is the way that this URL is built is Google sees this information and sees these sorting things, and they don't necessarily see that information being different across what's presented to the human, I guess you could say. So they don't really like to have these if possible. What's really better is if you just have your website /category /product name or something along those lines. This is a much more friendly URL, and it makes it a lot easier for the search engines to understand what this is, what category it's in, things of that sort. So an example of this is with the site : command that I did for Red Canoe Media, is you can see here that even if I just look at the URL, it's friendly. It kind of sort of tells me what's going on. If I look at SEO-2015, I know that that article is probably going to be about 2015 SEO related things or topics. So it's a great way to get some things in there, get a couple keywords in there. I wouldn't go overboard and stuff it with keywords, but I would definitely use whatever makes the most sense. The other thing is you don't want to waste any space on stop words, and a stop word would be a, and, at, the, in, if, those kind of things. So just use the actual keywords that make the most sense. So instead of me putting SEO-in-2015, I just did SEO-2015. So friendly URLs, if you have WordPress, it's fairly easy to do. You just turn on your permalinks, which is probably something that's already been done by your web person, so that you get these friendly URLs. When you post a new post or a new page, you do get the opportunity to modify those before you hit publish. And so that's where those are located. So let's move on to section number 2. Couple of things in here that I check for when somebody calls me, and one of the first things is the non-WW, the WW versus the non-WW. So believe it or not, if you type in your website, www.whatever domain.com, and a page comes up and the URL doesn't change at the top, it just shows your home page. Then if you go back and you just type in domain.com without the W's, if that page comes up again with that same, without anything happening to the URL, then that's a problem, because that basically shows two different pages with the exact same information on them. And to Google, they will actually penalize you for having what's called duplicate content. Even though you own both of those pages are the same website, since they have different addresses to the search engines, they actually look like different pages. So in most cases, when you have a website, so here's my redcanomedia.com/mechanic. If I try to put the W's in here, I have a redirect in place that's going to automatically redirect that to the non-www version. And it did. So that's perfect. That's exactly what you want to happen. If you prefer to have the W's, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that everything redirects away from the domain.com to the www version. If this doesn't happen when you try to do this with your website, then you need to get a hold of your web person and have them put that redirect in place. All right, let's move on to the next thing, which is site speed. So site speed, definitely very important as well. This came out a couple years ago when Google said that they're going to start looking at how fast your site responds when somebody pulls it up. And if it responds slowly, they're actually going to not rank your site as well as somebody else's site who maybe has a little bit less, favorable content, but loads a little faster. So it's just one more thing that if your site is running quickly, that you can do to help increase your overall rankings. So the actual page speed test is available from Google at this developers.google.com/speed/page speed, or you can use our bit.ly example that we got here, bit.ly/RCM page speed. And by the way, on all of these bit.ly examples, you have to use RCM in all caps. It is case sensitive. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example of the page speed test. So when you put that in, basically you'll come to this page here, and then down here it says Analyze Your Site Online. So you'll click that, and that's where you can put in your domain. I'll put in mine. And I'll hit the Analyze button here. And it will take a minute, look through your site, and it will decide how fast it's coming back. And then it will give you some opportunities or some ways that you can fix it. So I scored a 58 out of 100, not terrific. So there are some things in the mobile version that I need to fix that is hurting the overall way that this website is responding. Now there's also a tab here for desktop. So I scored better on there, 73 out of 100. So there are some things that I can do to help that, and and so they tell you what those things are. They show you how to fix those things. So pretty cool little tool that explains exactly how you can optimize your site so that the page speed is running as great as it can. And it's definitely an important thing to check into. So number 8 is being mobile friendly. Now we just looked at the page speed and how it differentiated the mobile results from the desktop results. And Google is really making a huge move in this direction. In fact, in the end of April, around the 21st of April, Google said that if a website is not mobile friendly by that particular date, then they may lose some overall rankings because they're not mobile friendly. So it's definitely important to have a mobile friendly website. Typically that's called a responsive website. And if, once again, if you're on WordPress or some sort of a content management system like Drupal or Joomla or even Magento in Shopify and some of the e-commerce situations, there are mobile friendly or responsive templates that you can use. And once again, Google gave us a great tool that we can use to go through and see if our site is mobile friendly or not. So I'm going to plug mine into that and we'll see what happens. So here we go. https://redcanoemedia.com. There we go. And I'm going to hit the Analyze button. And now this will tell me if my site is mobile friendly, yes or no. And if it's not, then there are some things that I need to do. In my case, this is a WordPress website, so I would need to go look for a responsive theme on WordPress. Now, I happen to know that this is a responsive theme and that it'll pass the test, but definitely gives you an opportunity to go in there and see what Google thinks about your website and if it's mobile friendly or not mobile friendly. And there we go. So definitely got the pass on that one, which is awesome, and I certainly am glad to see that myself. So that's the tool that you can do to see if your site is mobile friendly. Now, again, if your site fails this test, then the best thing you can do is find a responsive theme that fits and looks nice. It's probably going to end up taking you a little bit of work, or you're going to have to find a designer that can help you make that happen. But anything that you can do to appease the Google gods and get a little bit better rankings, definitely worth the time to do it. So number 9, rich snippets. Now, rich snippets are kind of tough to explain. They're basically pieces of content that go in the back end of your website into the code that explain different things about that particular website. And the search engines have come up with this kind of standard, and if you give them these pieces of information, then they'll show them in their results. So this is an example here of a pizza place, where they get reviews and ratings. You can also do something like this on a recipe site where there's some different reviews about it. It pulled in your total cook time. It can actually pull in some of the ingredients, things like that. So kind of cool little thing here that it'll do. If you're having an event, you can actually plug in the name of the event, when it starts, when it ends, how much it costs, things like that. Pretty cool. Now, if you have a business, which most of you probably do, there is actually a way that you could put in different information about your business and your address, your phone number, that sort of thing. And there is, again, a tool called the Rich Snippet Testing Tool, where you can test to see how your website comes up and whether it's has this thing running or not. So on this page, what you want to do is you want to fetch URL, okay? And then here I'm going to plug in mine again. And I'm going to hit fetch and validate. And here we go. Here's the results, and I got it's all good, all good. So that's perfect. Don't know what all this stuff over on the left means, but I don't really necessarily need to know. All I need to know is that it definitely came back and said that things are good when it comes to this tool. Now, the way that I got that to work is I'm on WordPress. So I used a WordPress plugin called Schema Creator from a company called Raven. They have a free WordPress plugin that you can do, and you can just download that, and it will create the coding and everything you need behind the scenes. You really don't have to do anything else for it to happen. Pretty cool. Now, if you don't have WordPress, you can actually go to this website and put in the different things that you need, your name, your address, your phone number, those sort of things, and it will create the code for you that you can then go plug into your website. A little bit more effort to get that done, but definitely very possible. So let's move on to tip number 10, which is social sharing. I think it's very important that not from necessarily an SEO standpoint, there's really no correlation between having social accounts going and increasing your SEO rankings. However, I have definitely seen times when people will judge a website depending on if they have social icons or if they're using social media. I actually had one guy who was doing a test on user testing on a website, and one of the questions that was asked was, would you trust this website or would you purchase from this website? And the very first thing that the guy did was went and clicked on the Facebook link, went and looked at the Facebook page and seen that they were putting content on Facebook on a regular basis. And that was one of his main trust factors to decide whether he would purchase from that company or not. Yep, they're updating things. It looks like this is probably a legit company. Things are going on. Things are happening. It's not just stale. It's not, just empty content or 2 or 3 year old content. So definitely take the time to sign up for social. And by the way, only sign up for the ones you're going to use. So if you're not going to use Twitter, then I would recommend not putting it on your page. But you need to probably use 2 or 3 different social services. And there are tools out there that will help you cross post across a couple different services, different social networks. So those kind of things are definitely important. And it's one of the things that I look for to see how people are doing with the social sharing. So let's move on to section number 3, Webmaster Tools, or as they just changed it to Search Console is what they're calling it now. And believe it or not, there's actually 2 different versions of Webmaster Tools. Everybody always talks about Google and their Webmaster Tool system, but Bing actually has one as well. And that one's at bing.com/toolbox/webmaster. I definitely take the time to go to both of those URLs and claim your website if you haven't already. Definitely claim your website. It's going to have you do some sort of add a piece of code to your website or claim it via Google Google Analytics or different things like that. So inside of Webmaster Tools, or Search Console as it's now called, there's a couple things that I check for when I'm looking at a new client. One of the things is, do they have an XML sitemap already submitted to Google Webmaster Tools? And an XML sitemap is basically a roadmap of every page on your website packaged into a cute little thing called an XML file. It's a programming language that the search engines understand, and it's something that you can then tell them, this page exists, here's a roadmap to all the pages on my site. So what they'll do is they'll download that roadmap, and then they'll look at that robots.txt file we talked about earlier and decide which paths they're allowed to go down and index, and then they'll index your site. And one of the cool things is it'll index your site a lot quicker because they don't, you've already given them the map. They don't have to come to your website and just stumble through all of the different things on your site. Follow this link to this link to this link. You've given them that entire map. Now in WordPress, if you're using the Yoast SEO plugin, all you have to do is check the little box there that says turn this on, and then you can go back, let me go back a slide here, and click this button in the upper right hand corner that says add test or add/test sitemap. So you just plug in the link to your sitemap right in there after you've turned it on, and then they will download all your pages. They will tell you what's going on, if there's any problems, things of that sort. So let me pull it up here real quick in Webmaster Tools. So when you first log in, you come to this, what's called the dashboard. And then over on the left, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the crawl thing, and then we're going to go down to sitemaps. So this is where all of your sitemaps should be listed, if you have any. Now, I haven't added my sitemap to this, so I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I'm going to jump into the back end of my site here. And I am using WordPress, as I said. I am using the Yoast SEO plugin. So all I have to do is go down to that SEO plugin, click on XML sitemaps. That will bring me to the sitemap page. This button right here, if I click on this, it'll actually take me to my sitemap. So here's my link to my sitemap. So I can grab that, copy that, go back to the Search Console, click Add/Test Sitemap, and actually all I needed was the last part of it. I'm going to delete all that, and so sitemap underscore index.xml is mine. I'm going to hit the Submit button, and then I'm going to click Refresh this page, and now it will say that, okay, we're starting to download some of these. They haven't done anything with it yet because I just submitted it. But within an hour or so, this will start to show me if there's any issues, if there's any problems, how many pages were submitted, those sort of things. So that's how you get that XML sitemap into the Search Console area. So I'm gonna start this back up, and we're going to talk about the next thing here, which is another option that you can do inside of Webmaster Tools, or Search Console as they're now calling it, and that's crawl errors. So instead of showing this, I'm gonna pop back over here, and still under that crawl area, we're going to click on crawl errors. And what this does is this tells me all of the pages where people followed a link somewhere to one of my pages, and what happened is it came back with typically a 404 error, or this page cannot be displayed, this page is not found. So right here I'm going to click on Not Found, and it looks like there's 10 different things of where people have followed a link to one of my pages, and now that page for some reason doesn't exist anymore. So what I can do now is I can click on each one of these and figure out what is the problem. So let's look at this WordPress-security/update 4-2-2. So somebody linked, it looks like Google Plus, somebody on Google Plus linked to it, somebody at a different website linked to it. So a couple places linked to this website or to this page that doesn't really exist. So what I can do is I can figure out, now I happen to know that this was a blog post that I wrote, and it looks like maybe they put an extra dash in there or something they didn't do correctly that made this error show up. So then I can go back and write a redirect in my system that will say, okay, if anybody follows this link, here's where they really should go, is to this blog post. Now, this is a little bit technical and probably something that you would have to have your web person do, but these are great ways of keeping people that maybe have fat-fingered a link to your website and have them, have those links not go to pages that don't exist. So let's move on to the next thing, which is the section 4 on over-optimization. Now, over-optimization really is a penalty that came out in 2013 from Google, and what they did was they were targeting over-optimization of pages. So what is that? Let's go through a couple examples. One of those would be keyword stuffing. So 5 or 6 years ago, it was unfortunately an accepted way of doing things was putting over repetitive information onto a page, because you could trick the search engines into thinking, wow, this page is in there a lot, it must really be about this particular subject. This is an example that Google actually gave us. We sell custom cigar humidors. Our custom cigar humidors are handmade. If you're thinking of buying custom cigar humidor, please contact blah, blah, blah. It was just obviously, it wasn't easy to read. It was tough on us. It just didn't flow nicely. So the search engines got smart enough about this kind of stuff and said, you know what, stop doing this keyword stuffing and overdoing it. Not good. Another way that people would do it, especially real estate type people, was they would start putting in all of the different places where they held, where they serviced. And I've seen this for real estate, I've seen this for construction, and a lot of different places where they think, you know what, we're just going to list all the places that we handle, and because we've put them all in there, the search engines will then show us at the top. Well, the search engines are smart enough to know that this is just kind of keyword stuffing. Another thing that you can do is, or that you shouldn't do, I should say, is stuff it with a bunch of different zip codes. So these are all the zip codes that these guys handle, and if you click on each one of these, it goes to a page that says, we serve zip code 88888. And here's information about zip code 88888, and we sell houses in that area. And, it's just the same thing. Then if I come back and I click on another one of these, I'm going to get the exact same content with the different zip code in it. So it's the same content. So this is an example of an over-optimization where it doesn't need to be done. Now, these guys actually took a little further there at the top, and they have cities we serve, counties we serve, popular neighborhoods. So unfortunately, they've done a lot of work in this area of creating some sort of content that comes up when you click on one of these, but the content's always the same. It's just replacing whatever city or neighborhood you happen to be in. Not great, not smart. So another thing that was really popular for a very short time, several years ago, was something called a tag cloud. These came in WordPress as widgets that you could put on your site, just drag and drop, and there you had a word cloud. And it would show the more important or popular words bigger, the other ones smaller, things of that sort. And Google said, you know what, in reality, this is just another way of doing keyword stuffing. So don't do it. Take those tag clouds down if you have them. So let's move on to number 14, which is unnatural linking. And the way that I can explain unnatural linking is over-linking to things on one piece of content probably would be, this is a great example of it. You know, it doesn't necessarily make sense. Some of the words just kind of, stick in the middle of it. There's a lot of links, and some of these links are really long. The anchor text is overdone, and the anchor text is stuff in blue that actually makes the link happen. So what Google said is really you need to have 3 different kinds of links. You need to have natural links, which is, the keyword that is in blue matches wherever the link is going to. So if I were to put something about SEO and linked to Red Canoe Media, then that would be a natural link. It would make sense. It would be on some other blog where somebody thought one of my blogs was great and they linked over to it or something like that. Now, another way that a person on another website could link to me, for example, could be that they actually use Red Canoe Media as the text. You click on that, it brings them to my website. So that would be a brand or URL example. If they use the full http://redcanoemedia.com, that would be a URL example. And then the third is the generic type of links, which is the click me and the read more and that kind of stuff. Really what Google said when they issued this algorithm update is that you really need to have an about even across all 3 of these amount of each. So some should be natural, some should be your brand, some should be just generic links. And in the past, everybody was basically building content that looked like this because all that Google was really counting was anchor text to wherever it was pointed to. So definitely something that they've changed over time. And, having that click here or that brand name pointing to you is a good thing nowadays. So tip number 15 is something we've actually kind of already touched on a little bit, and that's thin content. We saw it a little bit with that zip code example where basically it's always the same content. It's just a different way of showing that content, or one little thing is different about it. And Casey Marquis said it great when he said if you look at a page and you can tell that it took absolutely no effort to create this page, that is thin content. Another example of thin content is when the text doesn't match up, I guess would be the great way to say it. So here's an example about easy methods about getting fit. However, right in the middle of it, all of a sudden we're talking about payday loans and fast cash loans. This is an example of thin content. The content doesn't really match. The content was simply created to get, stuff those links into these different places. Not really cool, and Google and the search engines are not going to give any credit to this kind of stuff. And here's one similar to what we were talking about with the zip codes, where it's the same information. All they're doing is changing the name of the city. So it's all duplicate content. Just some tiny little things are changed on the page to make it look like it's original content when in reality it isn't. So if you have this type of stuff, this thin content, then it's probably a good idea to remove those pages and write 100% original content for all of them if you can. So let's move on to section number 5, competition. two tips in here. The first is content strategy. Now this might be the second coolest tip that I give today. The first, of course, is the cite command that we talked about right at the beginning. But this is a pretty cool little tip here where you can actually see what kind of things your competitors are up to. So here's the cite command that I did for my website earlier, and I'm actually going to move that over, and we're going to do that again. So I'm going to open up a new tab here. I'm going to do my cite redcanoemedia.com, and I'm going to get back, of course, all the results about my website. Now, let's say that I was looking at a competitor here. One of the really cool things that I can do is I can click on this Search Tools button, and it brings down a couple little more menus anytime, all results in United States. Now, all under this anytime, what I can do is I can actually go back and see, okay, what actually has changed on the redcanoemedia.com website in the past hour? Well, nothing. So let's say, okay, past 24 hours, still nothing. That's not unusual. You know, not everybody updates their website every day. But if you're looking at a competitor and you do see something within the past 24 hours, or you see a couple pieces of content, then that will tell you immediately that you need to keep up and be producing about equally that amount of content, if not more. So we can change this down to the past week, and we'll see that, yep, two things have definitely been updated or changed or added to the website in the past week. If I still saw nothing here, then I know that at least in the past 7 days they haven't blogged or they haven't put anything up new. And this might be, you know, if this was one of my competitors, this might be a way that I can start to get ahead of them because they're not putting up content on a regular basis. You can also look at the past month, and yep, things have definitely changed in the past month here. And then you can also do the past year. Or you can do a custom range if you want to compare, well, maybe they didn't do anything in the past week, but did they do anything in the previous week or the previous week? So you can kind of do custom areas or custom sections of it to see if they're updating it or not. But if you go all the way back to the past month or the past year and there's no updates that Google is reporting, then you have an opportunity there to take advantage of a content strategy and maybe overtake some of your clients, or some of your competitors in this area by creating some content that really that works and it compels and it answers questions, things of that sort. So that is a really cool tool, a really cool little tip there that will help you see what your competitors are up to. And same thing when somebody calls me, I ask who are some of your competitors, and I look and see how often their content has been updated. So tip number 17, and then we'll get into some questions. Tip number 17 is around targeted keywords. And in particular, I wanted to show you a tool called SEMrush. SEMrush.com is a great little tool where you can get some information about some of your competitors. You plug in a competitor's domain name, and it will give you information that they know about that particular company. And what you can actually do is over on the left-hand side, there's an area where you can click on advertising research, and then you can see what kind of things what kind of ads in this case are they running. And you can actually see the ads that that are coming up inside of Google, and what ads they're running, what kind of products they're targeting, things of that sort. Also, if you click on the positions, it will tell you the different keywords that they're actually trying to rank for, or that they are ranking for, or that they're spending money on. So this is an awesome tool. It's called SEMrush.com. Typically, you only get about 5 or 6 searches a day with the free area of their website. It's pretty locked down. If you join SEMrush as a free member, so you just register, I think you get 10 or 15 searches a day where you can get some information. And after that, it goes up to, I'm not sure, I think it goes to $49 a month or something. It's not real cheap, so it's not the greatest thing in the world when it comes to that. But for somebody like me that's doing deep research, it's definitely worth it. But for the average business owner, maybe not. So I hope you really enjoyed all the different tips that we've covered so far. There's a lot of different things that you check. And like I said, these are not all of the different things that I check. There are a lot of moving parts when it comes to SEO. There's a lot of different things beyond just these 17 that we check. And there is a section on the Red Canoe Media website called Red Canoe Elite that I wanted to tell you about really quick. In the back end, this is a membership area of the website where you can log in. Here's a shot of the dashboard where you can actually see a lot of different things and learn a lot of different stuff that's going on. We do private coaching calls. We have our private Facebook group where people can ask questions. A lot of different things going on in the back end of this membership group where you can ask questions about stuff. You can get answers from other clients. You can get answers from our staff as well. There's similar-minded business owners in there. There's over 100 videos already in different tutorials on everything from WordPress SEO to optimization tips, things of that sort. Now, if you were to pay for all of this individually, you'd probably be looking at thousands of dollars of our time to teach you all of these different items. However, since you're on this webinar today, I wanted to give you an opportunity to get in there and look around for just $1. So I'm not planning to get rich off that $1, but I really believe in all the information that's back there. Plus, the private Facebook group has really it's been very active lately. People asking a lot of different questions. There's a guy asking about hosting. There's someone asking about when they're building a new website, what sort of domain should they get. We saw an example of somebody asking about backing up WordPress, things of that sort. So a lot of different opportunities in there where you can jump in, and for just $1, you can get some terrific videos and tutorials in there. So I wanted to encourage you to go ahead and grab that while it's just $1. It's redcanoemedia.com/start. And that will get you into the system. That will get you into the back end. You can sign up for the Facebook group, all of that kind of stuff, and check that out. I definitely encourage you to check that out when you get a chance. So let's go ahead and go through some of the questions that people have put into the system. And Paula says on the zip codes, can I put unique content on each page? Oh, yeah, definitely. So on the zip code example that we looked at, when I clicked on each of those zip codes, it basically took me to a page that had the exact same content. The only thing that changed was the zip code. So definitely, if you take the time to write 100% unique content about each of those areas or those towns or those cities or those neighborhoods, and you reference things such as landmarks and events and things that are going on in those areas, then that kind of breaks out of the whole thin content thing, because it really is helpful, productive information. Now, if it's just the same stuff, different zip code, don't do it. And then the follow-up for Paula was how much needs to be original content. So with that mind of thinking, that makes me think that you're just trying to play the system again. Really, it needs to be 100% original. So you can't just change a couple paragraphs and the rest all stay the same. It has to be 100% original. I mean, that's the way it needs to be, or the search engines won't give you the credit that you deserve for that. Okay, hopefully that helps you, Paula. Tom says, the schema, do I have to use it or do I have to have it? You don't have to. I definitely recommend it. Anything, once again, that you can give to the search engines that gives them more information about your website or your business or your event or whatever it happens to be, the more information you can give them and it doesn't cost you anything or hurt you. Basically, if you're doing that and your competitors are not, then you're gonna get a little bit more love from them. So I think that's probably the best way to say that. There you go, Tom. Darla, I failed the mobile test. Okay. If you failed the test on the mobile test that I showed you on Google, then if you're, Darla, are you on WordPress? Just put it into the side there if you are, or send me a message. If you're not on WordPress, then it really depends on what system you're on. If you're on another content management system or CMS, then most likely there's some sort of responsive theme or template that you can use. If your website, if your website, like Darla's here, is created in front page or some old system that is no longer recognized, it may be better. Well, I'll give you two options. One is to have the website redone in something like WordPress or some sort of CMS. I definitely am a fan of WordPress. So, that's going to cost some significant money and or some significant time to move all that over and get all that done. The other thing you could do is you could use a tool called Duda Mobile, D-U-D-A mobile.com. And what Duda Mobile does is you plug in your website there and they create a mobile version of your website that you can then point to, and any mobile traffic will go to that version. I think that starts at like $9 a month or something. It's not very expensive. So, and then you can get in and edit how your mobile version of your website looks. That's a decent fix. I have a client who's doing that, but long term, it's better to go ahead and get some sort of a responsive theme and on a CMS that just kind of takes care of all that. That way, every time you build a new page, you don't have to go back to Duda Mobile and build that page where it's mobile friendly, that kind of stuff. It starts to get old after a while. So those are your two options. Really depends on what kind of budget, and what kind of time you have. Janie, I don't have a robots.txt file. Okay. I'll break this into two different things. If you're using WordPress, then I would recommend downloading the Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T, SEO plugin, and that will help create that file for you. Your other option is to have a web person, such as myself, get in there and actually create that file for you and put it up there, and start to help the search engines understand different things about your website and block out some different areas that you don't want them to index. And that would be probably your two options there. Okay, got one more question here. Rick, can you show me the steps for changing the date again? Oh, sure. Let me pull that up. So the first thing you do is you do your site : and then whatever the domain name is. So you could do it for your own or you could do it for a competitor. And then you're going to click on this search tools area. When you click on that, you'll get these first couple results here. And I'm going to click clear just so everything starts over. So I click search results, and then under any time, I drop that down to, let's say, the past month. Now, what this is saying, hey, Google, what do you know about this particular domain name, but only in the last 30 days? What new pieces of content have they put up, or what have they updated? So this is a great way to see what's going on with a competitor, and at the same time, test your own website. Make sure that if you have updated some things in the last couple of days, that Google is indexing them in a timely manner and seeing those new pages as well. So that's all the tips. Those are the 17 tips that I shared with you today. And definitely take some time to jump into that Red Canoe Elite area for only $1 and redcanoemedia.com/start. Look around in there, join our Facebook, private Facebook group, ask some questions if you have questions about this webinar, or if you have questions about anything related to online marketing. Toss them in there and somebody will definitely answer. If not more than, several people will probably give you their answers related to that. Great community, great way to build your website up, to get more leads, to get more traffic to your site. And, you can't go wrong when you're starting for just $1. So, my name is Will Hankey. My company is Red Canoe Media. I really appreciate you jumping on the webinar today, and hopefully I will see you inside the Elite section soon. Have a terrific day. Take care.